وَلْتَكُن مِّنكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ.
Let's look at really how important akhlaq are in Islam. Is it just from fadail al-a'mal that you add to beautify yourself after you do, you put on the hijab or you wear the beard and you shorten your clothes and then you go to the masjid and then you finish hajj. Then one day you're thinking, well, maybe I can start working on my akhlaq now as an extra added bonus. So let's look at it now realistically. First of all, you see that when the Prophet ﷺ, Allah addresses him in the Quran telling him why he was sent. So you would imagine that the Prophet ﷺ would have been told that you were sent to teach people the Salah, or you were sent to teach people the Quran, or you were sent to teach people Tawheed, to establish Tawheed on the earth. Allah tells him, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy to humanity or to the universe. So, we all know how the Prophet ﷺ being sent is a mercy from Allah, right? Because he guides you to the truth. Through his guidance you can be saved from eternity in the hellfire, or you can get eternity in paradise. So this is a clear mercy. We can all understand that. But this mercy of sending the Prophet ﷺ, is it just in the next life, or is there mercy in sending him in this life as well? No doubt there is mercy in sending him in this life as well. So, if there is mercy, there has to be good akhlaq. Let's take the example of a village. And in this village, there are no good akhlaq whatsoever. So there's a village and everybody hates everybody else. Everyone's a liar. They backbite, they spread rumors, tales, and they envy one another. Horrible. Would you imagine, or could you describe this village as a place of mercy?
No.
Huh? Could you say the village X, mashallah, there's a lot of rahmah there?
No.
There can't be. So that means in order for there to be mercy and rahmah amongst human beings and in a society, there have to be good akhlaq. So when Allah Azza wa Jal tells the Prophet ﷺ, we have sent you as a mercy, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, that in it is an indication to good akhlaq as well. Alright, let's look at something else, where the Prophet ﷺ is going to talk about why he was sent. And you would imagine he would say something very important. I was sent to establish Tawheed. I was sent so people could pray. I was sent to teach people the Quran. But he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Verily, I was sent to perfect the most noble of character, of good manners. So it's as if he was just sent for akhlaq. The way he's wording it, it's as if he was only sent for the sake of improving our akhlaq. And you see, like I was saying, the person with bad akhlaq, nobody wants to hear from them. Nobody wants to get advice from someone who has bad akhlaq. Nobody wants to sit with someone who has bad akhlaq. You remember Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn Khattab, he used to say that I would rather sit with a well-mannered kafir than a bad-mannered Muslim. And you've probably experienced some people like that. They've got the talk down, Jazakallah khair, barakallah, alhamdulillah, astaghfirullah, but then they're just horrible in akhlaq. And you don't want to spend time with them, and you don't want to sit with them at all, because they have bad akhlaq. Not only that, but you have the best of hearts ever, the hearts of the companions, right? The best message ever, the message of the Quran. Would you imagine that the best of hearts would not have received the best message if it was packaged in bad akhlaq? That's why Allah Azza wa Jal says to the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. That if you were crude or like harsh or hard-hearted with the companions, they would have scattered from around you. So even though their hearts, were willing and susceptible to accept the truth, and they still would have refused it if it came to them in this bad package of insults and being rude and arrogance and talking down to them. The companions wouldn't have accepted the best message. So that means in order for you also to be successful in getting your message across, it has to come packaged with good akhlaq. That's why the mother of Imam Malik, you all know Imam Malik rahimahullah, his mother, when she sent him to study with Rabi'at al-Ra'i, who was the scholar of Medina at the time, she tells him, اذهب إلى ربيعة فتعلم من أدبه قبل علمه. She said, go to Rabi'a and learn from his adab, from his manners, before you learn from his knowledge. Yeah? Okay, nobody was moved by that. I'm going to say it one more time, pretend you're moved. She said, learn from his manners before you learn from his knowledge. Thank you, sir. You've probably seen, the young guy in the masjid who learned this hadith and learned that hadith and heard this tafsir and heard that tape, but he has bad manners. And all he does, he uses that knowledge to make people uncomfortable. And there are a lot of young people like that. They learn so they can go home and make their parents wrong. Because they're wrong all the time. And finally, they learn something in deen class and say, oh, my mother does this. We're going to have fun tonight. So they go home and they try to make their life miserable. This hadith says this and this. In a rude way, they bring the message. So here she's telling him, learn from his manners first, then learn from his knowledge. Because if you don't have the manners, that whole knowledge will not avail you. You can't pass it on to people. Because people don't want to be around you. So let's look if her plan worked or not. One of the students of Imam Malik, he stayed with the Imam for 20 years, learning with him. 20 years, can you imagine that? And most people after 2 years are like, okay, I'm a sheikh now. I'm going to start my own class. He studied with the Imam for 20 years. Now, he was such a brilliant mind at the same time. Within the first year, he gathered all of the knowledge of the Imam. What does that mean? The Imam used to teach them a hadith. In 1 year, he got every hadith from the Imam. So you might ask, why did he stay another 19 years? So they asked him, why did you stay for 19 years? 19 years was repetition. Oh, I heard this class. I remember this hadith. Yeah, I remember this class. 19 years of repetition. Why would he stay for 19 years? He said, I gathered all of the knowledge of the Imam in the first year. And the rest of the 19 years I was learning from his adab. Because he was such an ocean in akhlaq and in manners. So I would sit with him and learn how he dealt with the ruler, with the Amir or the Khalifa, how he dealt with a fellow scholar, how he dealt with an ignorant person, how he dealt with a child, how he dealt with his students, how he dealt with a woman. He's learning, what a wealth of knowledge, 19 years. But then, he says something really profound. He said, and I wish the entire 20 years was to learn from his adab. One brother's moved. So 20 years, imagine that. Look at so much adab here, so much akhlaq. So we're starting to see now the importance of good manners. And it's not just about manners being an extra thing to, like extra credit on top of you being a good believer. But your good manners, it's part of who the believer is. Part of who the believer is. Like, we'll look at some ahadith that shows again the importance of good manners. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which of the deeds will most, or is like most conducive, or will most lead people to paradise? What are the deeds will most take people into paradise? And you would expect, jihad and this, or salah and that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells him, taqwa, being God conscious, having this piety, taqwa wa husnul khuluq. Taqwa and good manners. So good manners, one of the top 2 things that lead people to paradise. Then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh asked for the opposite. What are the deeds that most lead people into the hellfire? And the Prophet ﷺ responded, the mouth and the sexual organs. Those 2 most lead people into the hellfire. So now if we think about it, we have good manners from the top 2 that will lead to paradise, bad manners from the top 2 that will lead to the hellfire. Okay, so now we're starting to see now the importance of good manners. Don't worry, I'll wait. I should have poured it. Okay. Alright, look at there's the hadith of the person who's bankrupt. The Prophet ﷺ asked the companions, أَتَدْرُونَ مَنِ الْمُفْلِسِ? Do you know who is the one who is bankrupt? So their answer is that, يا رسول الله المفلس فينا من لا درهم له ولا متاع. The one who is bankrupt is the one who has no money, no currency, he has no possessions. That's the one who is bankrupt. So then the Prophet ﷺ explains to them that the one who is bankrupt is the one who comes forth on the Day of Judgment with a lot of good deeds. A lot of good deeds. But he has insulted this person, and he has hit that person, and he took the wealth of that person. So what happens? He starts to take from or they start to take from his good deeds. Because no one's going to punch anybody on the Day of Judgment. There's no punching, no biting, no kicking. So how are you going to pay people back? You see, this is now, let's pay attention here. You know, if you do something, you sin against Allah, or you do something, an offense against Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal might forgive you that sin. Or might expiate it in this dunya, or in so many different ways of expiation. But if you do something against a fellow human being, they need to forgive you, or you need to seek forgiveness from them before you die. Or they will take it from you in hard currency, a real hard currency now. So this person, he's got a list, he did all the good deeds. So let's contemplate now. He had a lot of good deeds, which means he probably prayed in the masjid 5 times a day, he gave in sadaqah, he could have gone out to jihad, went to hajj, umrah, did all the good deeds. So he had this mountain of good deeds. But there's a whole line of people that he had offended. He insulted this guy and hit that guy and did some wicked things to that person. So now they have to get even with him, so they will start to take from his good deeds. And then when his good deeds expire, this mountain is gone now, there's still a list of people. So how's he going to pay them back? No more good deeds. So, excellent. So then he will take from their bad deeds, and then the Prophet ﷺ describes he will be thrown into the hellfire. Can you imagine? Someone who did a lot of good deeds, and salawat, and zakah, and charity, and siyam, and hajj, and umrah, and a mountain of good deeds, and then he's thrown back into the hellfire. But let's contemplate what he had to do to get to that stage. Because you see, the believers, before they enter paradise, and they're all in front of the gates of paradise, they are called one by one. And whoever has something to take from another person will take it at that point. Because when they enter into Jannah, there's no hard feelings, and there's no one giving anyone dirty looks in Jannah. You still love me for that. There's none of that stuff, So when do we purify? When does the purification happen amongst the believers? Before they enter into Jannah. So think about the stages that this person went through. So, look, first of all, he goes through death. And death is very difficult for those who have bad deeds. Those who have good deeds, it's easy. So he made it past the difficulty of death. He made it past the questions in the grave. He made it past the torture or the torment in the grave. Made it past that point. And then he made it past the day of resurrection, where people stand for 50,000 years with the sun 1 mile away from their heads, no talking, no side conversations. He made it past this stage, because if you have good deeds, that day is very short. It doesn't seem like 50,000 years. Made it past that stage. And then he made it past being questioned in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, because everyone will be asked by Allah Azza wa Jal, one by one. He made it past that. Then he crossed the Sirat. And as you know, the Prophet described it, that it's sharper than a sword, thinner than a hair, craftier than a fox, suspended 500 years over the hellfire. He made it past the Sirat. And some people, they cross it, in the speed of like the lightning bolt, a flash of lightning. Others, like the blink of an eye. Others, like a fast racehorse. Others will run. Others will crawl. And they will fall, and they'll be put back on it, and so on and so forth. He made it past that stage. He made it past all these stages, and then he's standing in front of the gates of paradise with all his good deeds. And after making it through all this difficulty, he's thrown back into the hellfire, wal-'iyadhu billah. Why? Because of his bad akhlaq. You see now that akhlaq is not just an extra thing that you add. And inshallah, once my beard reaches here, I finish hajj, my pants come up, and then khalas. And we're not belittling the beard or the hijab or the pants being above the ankles. But we're saying it's not that, well, let me do this and then I'll start to be nice to people. It's part of who you are, your good akhlaq. So this man was thrown back into the hellfire after passing all these stages because of bad manners. So it can't be that bad manners is not something very important in Islam. Everybody follow? Okay. I think you were waiting for too long, huh? Alright. That's why one of the early Muslims, his name was Yahya ibn Mu'adh, rahimahullah, he used to say that good deeds do not compensate for bad manners, while good manners may compensate for bad deeds. Nobody's moved, I see. That's amazing. He said good deeds do not make up for your bad manners. Did we see that in the hadith or not? The man had a lot of good deeds, but he had bad manners, so he lost all his good deeds. But then he says, your good deeds, they might make up for your bad manners. Thank you, sir. Your good manners, might make up for your bad deeds. Your good manners might make up for your bad deeds. How so? Just because we also know from the Prophet ﷺ that the heaviest thing on your scale. So what of your good deeds, what is the most dense, like really heavy? Take a guess. Thank you, sir. Your good manners, the heaviest thing on your scale. You would really imagine, you know what, do this. Someone who hasn't heard the hadith, take a poll and ask Muslims, what do you think is the heaviest thing on your scale? And those will tell you jihad, and they will tell you salah, and they will tell you this and tell you that. Akhlaq. Your good manners, the heaviest thing on your scale. So that means it's even so much more important for the believer to have good manners. And also Aisha radiallahu anha also narrates how the Prophet ﷺ described that verily a believer will attain with good manners the same degree as that attained by fasting and establishing salah. With your good manners, same degree as that attained by fasting and establishing salah. You also look at the hadith that talk about, the excellence of people, or the best of people, or the closest of people to the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment. Always you'll find ones that have good manners. The best of you, خيركم خيركم لأهله. The best of you is the best of you to his family. And I'm the best amongst you to their family. Again, here, the best of you, and we go back to something being related to akhlaq, something so simple. And you all know the hadith about the companion, that Prophet ﷺ mentioned him to be of the people of Jannah, right? So someone else wanted to see what's his secret. We all know this, right? What was his secret? When he went to spend the night with him, to see maybe he's spending all night in prayer and so on and so forth, and the man just slept and woke up for Fajr. So then he told him, I just wanted to see what your secret was. Why did the Prophet ﷺ mention you as being one of the people of paradise? And then what was his answer? He forgives everybody, just clears that heart. Maybe you might want to go through any book of hadith and just pick all the hadith that mention great reward. You will always see that it's something simple mentioned. Always. It's just amazing. Every time. For if you want, all your past sins forgiven, or obviously the minor sins, you will just say this simple dua. Or you will fast these simple 6 days, and not 60 days. Always, you find it some great reward, but you have to do something simple. Now, he just cleared his heart. No issues, no beef with anybody. So, let me ask you this now, because I think we're all tired of Talk Islam. We all know about Talk Islam, right? We're tired of it. Very tired of Talk Islam. So, this is something that's really easy. Before you go to bed, you do it, you clear your heart. Can we all do that tonight? Yeah? Inshallah. We'll try to, before we go to bed, you'll think of everybody that you have some kind of issue with. Alright? And just forgive that person. The sister made fun of my hijab the other day. Alright, forgive her. This guy said this the other day. He tried to make fun of me. He tried to put me down in front of everyone. Just forget about it. Just forget about it. The reward is so great and the deed is so simple. So can we all do that?